Okay, we are seeing the 8th verse of the Dakshinamurti Sutram. In that we completed, I think, the 12th verse last time. Correct?
Yes, sir. 12.
Yeah. Any questions or clarifications up to now? With the 4 definitions of mithya, all clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah. Because silence can be interpreted in 100 different ways. Okay. All right. Now let us go ahead. Since he has spoken so much about the cause of the problem as Maya, little bit now in this verse, he is dealing with the issue of what Maya is. Different perspectives, some of them dealt with here. Okay. So if there are no questions, shall we start with the new verse?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So he goes about saying, Yuktahina prakashasya sanya mayeti katyate nasti iti drishyamanaha sa buddhyamana navasati. He says, Yuktahina prakashaha maya iti katyate. What is illogical is Maya in short. Yuktihinam, which doesn't have any logic. Prakasha say something that you are seeing. Actually is referring more to the mithya part of it. Okay? A prakasha, something that's lighted up, something that is seen, but which is not logical. That is called Maya iti katyate. That entity is called as Maya. Like what? Like you are seeing a snake there. What is there really is rope. So what logic can you give to see that about that rope? What can you talk? Logically it cannot become a rope. There is no real logic about how that rope appeared as a snake. You cannot give any one reason, except maybe I didn't know it was a rope. So you didn't know it was a rope, why should it create a snake? Or you are afraid of snakes. No, I am from Malul and we love snakes, we worship them. Oh, because you love snakes. Somebody else because is scared. Somebody else because, oh, I saw Nagini in Harry Potter series. Hey, what reason can you give? Each person will have something or the other. Therefore, really speaking, there is no real this thing. That means every time you see a snake movie, are you going to mistake a rope for a snake? Just because you have love for snake, are you going to mistake every rope for a snake? Just because you are afraid of snake, are you going to mistake every rope for a snake? No. Therefore, there is no real reason, there is no real logic for it. It is something illogical. Okay? And he gives it more here. Na asti iti drishyamanaha sa buddhyamana navasatihi. Nasati drishyamanaha. You cannot say it is not there because you are seeing it. You can't say the snake is not there because you are seeing it. Na satihi, nava satihi. Nor can you say it is there. Why? Buddhyamanaha na sati. Because when you know the rope, the snake disappears. Therefore, you cannot say it is, you cannot say it is not there. Either way, you cannot say it. Is or is not cannot be said as far as that snake. Therefore, he says, it is purely mithya mayikam. Now when you look, the example is very clear. Now when you look at with that idea, when you look at anything else in the world, the whole world is like this. The whole world is like this. Flat earth, is it there? Yeah, it's flat, I'm working on it. But Buddhyamane Sati, when you know it, it's round. When you know it, it is round. Now, what about time? What is time? We have seen it before. Depending on sunrise, sunset. We know it doesn't rise or set. So it is there, it is not there. You can't say it is there. Because when you know it, it disappears. Where is time? You can't, it's not there because we are experiencing it. Therefore, everything in the world is like this. It's highly paradoxical. It is there, it is not there. Therefore, Mayakam. Even if you are giving some scientific logic for it, it's all within a paradigm. Within that paradigm, your logic works. If you go beyond that paradigm, there is no logic for it. In fact, any scientific theory that is propounded, there is one principle in it, universal, that is, it should be fallible, meaning you should be able to disprove it in the future at least, if not right now. That means what? Everything that is propounded as science is negatable. Badhyaman. Therefore, by its very definition, it is dealing with mithya, dealing with what is apparent, dealing with what is not real. Buddhyamane Sati. The whole world is like that. It is there for your experience, but not really there. Just like the snake, it is there for your experience, but not really there. Therefore, we say, Kinchit Bhavamasti. Some sort of thing, some reality will give it. You cannot call it real, it's some sort of reality. Yeah. I hope you have not forgotten my old explanation. Everything that we deal with in the world, either we will say it is there, it is not there, or it is false. Do you all remember that explanation? Or you want me to sum it up?
Yes.
What? Remember it? Kya sum it up? Take a stand.
We can sum it up.
Sum it up?
Please
Okay.
sum it up.
Okay, fine. Look at it. Table is. My head is. It is. The horn on my head is not. Is not. The flat earth false. Mirage water false. So is not false. That's all the ontology that we deal with. This is the degrees of reality we are dealing with. So supposing I were to ask, why do you say the sand is real, the desert sand is real, but the mirage water is false? Ramaji, because the mirage water is negatable. Acha. Then based on what you have said, I am going to have a definition of the truth. Abhaditam satyam. That which cannot be negated is true, is a reality. So is not affected by it. Tucham, non-existent, my horn. That is non-existent. Mirage water is false, not a problem, because I defined what is as abhaditam. But what you have taken as true, na? The table, that suffers. Why? Baditam. Where is the table? It's only wood. I just have to shift focus. I don't have to destroy the table. I just have to shift focus from table to wood. So where is table now? Negatable. Table is not false like the mirage water. Table is not real. Abhaditam satyam, that which cannot be negated. But it is there. But it is negatable. What is there is only wood. Therefore, what you call as a table, which is only what we say is Namarupa, name and form, seems to enjoy an in-between existence. Not Sat, not Asat. Sat Asatbhyam Anirvachaniyam. That's what we call Mithya, Mayekam. That which is a product of Maya, Mithya. Therefore, this reality, the whole world is made up of this reality alone. There is no other reality. There is no other reality. This is all the reality that is there. Sat Asatbhyam Anirvachaniyam. No other reality meaning no other reality in your functioning. You are the real Abhaditam Satyam. That doesn't change. Okay? That Abhaditam Satyam that you are doesn't change. That is a reality. In your functioning, in fact, I will go one step further to say all that you are taken in functioning is only perceptions. The base is the reality, yes. Other than that, there is no reality. They are only perceptions. You perceive things in a certain manner and therefore you function in that manner.
Swamiji, I have a question. Can I ask?
Yeah, shoot.
So can I say that in the functioning world, all this appears because of error of perception, also because I have a wrong notion, and because of my adhyasa, it's all...
Yeah, it is adhyasa. It is because of your ignorance of the reality. Because you don't know the reality, there is an appearance. Which is not a problem. If you knew the reality, the appearance would not be a problem. If I knew what was there was rope, but it is appearing as a snake, there is no problem, I will enjoy the appearance. But I take the appearance as reality, that is adhyasa. Taking the appearance as real is the adhyasa. And that's what creates the problem. Because appearance is mistaken to be real. Then all the problems become real. Everything becomes real. Otherwise, there's something has to be dealt with. Look at it.
I have a question.
Yeah?
If you are over with a question.
Speak up a bit. Yeah, what is your question?
Yeah, you said, Swamiji, that everything in science should be fallible. So is it like a? Can you elaborate on that?
Everything you see is?
No. Everything in science is should be fallible, debatable.
Yeah. See, any theory that is propounded in science, you are proving it now with your experimental verification, etc. But any theory that is propounded, one clause there is that theory should have the possibility of being misproved, of being disproved. That's what you call fallibility of the theory. Because beyond certain conditions it won't work. It will work only under certain given conditions. Huh? Like certain things will work under Newtonian physics. Certain things will work under Newtonian physics. But if you are shifting the paradigm outside the scope of Earth's gravitational force, etc., the same thing doesn't work. So you always have under certain paradigms it will work, other places it won't work. Therefore, by its very definition, it is badhitam, negatable. That's what they're trying to say. In brief, I'm simplifying it, okay?
Swamiji, can I just ask one thing? So, what about the medical fact? Like, say,
Medical science is even more fallible. Nobody knows what works.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Medical science is more fallible. Look at the whole cancer treatment that is happening. Surgery, chemo, radiation, hormonal treatment. That's all there is there. Once we really find a cure for cancer, all this is going to be criticized. How come people could do something so bad? We are doing it, the treatment, because nothing else is available right now. Right now, like for example, what is available for the virus that's going around? COVID-19. You're trying a lot of stuff. What seems to work, seems to work.
No, I'm not talking about the treatment and all that.
Then?
I'm talking about like blood. Blood is red. So that's a fact, right?
Blood is red, doesn't always remain red. It depends upon the amount of oxygen that is there in it. Yeah. Nothing is definite, okay? Nothing is definite. Yeah. Nothing is definite. There is no finality in anything. Okay. Let us say, I'll give you another example. The color of the dress I am wearing is what? Orange? Saffron, orange, what do you want to call it? But really speaking, this cloth has all the colors but orange. Why? Orange is the only color that is being reflected. Everything else is being absorbed. So you're defining the cloth as orange by what the cloth is throwing out. So is the cloth really orange? You're perceiving it as an orange because orange color is being reflected. Violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red. 7 colors of the spectrum. Okay. All other colors are absorbed. Therefore, this cloth has all the other colors. All the other colors are there. The only color that is not there is orange. But you're calling it orange cloth. Saffron cloth. So is it really orange cloth? According to science? Can you see the paradox? The mithyatvam of things. You're define a thing by what is rejected. I don't have orange in this. The cloth will say, I don't have orange in me. I have violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow. I don't have orange. But you're calling it orange. So what is true? What is true? It's got a functional validity. Yep, we accept that. Kinchit bhavam asti. Some sort of validity it has got. We'll accept that. Kinchit bhavam. Perception. You're calling it orange only because you're perceiving it as orange. Then I'll ask you another question, okay? Typical male question this is. If orange is a color, why not apple be a color? in just a joke, okay? You have apple green, different from sea green. Okay. Anyway, all that is different. Okay. Why? Perception based. Purely perception based. Any other questions?
Yes, Swamiji.
What is that? Shoot.
Puchli Swamiji, in one of the places, he had said about peacock that we feel that peacock has so many beautiful colors, but it is all.
Sorry, you're not clear.
There. So can you explain on that?
Pujya Swamiji has said,
Swamiji
please.
had said once about peacock.
About peacock.
Colors that we think that beautiful peacock feathers.
Yeah.
Peacock feather.
Correct.
It has so many colors and also.
Correct.
He was saying the same thing what you said. So can you elaborate on how I see so
Why?
many colors in that feather?
See, anything is like that,
So
Baba.
many colors are seen in that feather.
So, look at it. When you look at a peacock feather, is it one thing or is it made up of many things?
Many things.
Many things, exactly. So some things are reflecting different colors. It is not a composite, it is not a uniform whole. It is not a homogeneous whole. It's a composite put together of a lot of things. Therefore, a lot of things are reflecting different colors. So all the colors that are reflected are seen. The colors that are absorbed is not seen. Therefore, the peacock's feather reflects a lot of colors. Therefore, you see a lot of colors in it. But what I said basically is true. I used a one composite example. A simple example I used. One cloth, one color. The same thing is applicable because everything is made up of parts. Wait until this cloth starts fading more. Then some part will appear more whitish, some part will be more dark, some part may be stained. What is that? Yeah, so a thing can have different colors. All that proves Mithyatvam only, because all perception. In one thing you are having multiple perceptions. Because it's not really one thing, it's an assemblage put together. Everything is like that. Assemblies. That proves the Mithyatvam of the world. Mayikam in nature. Pure Maya. What is the reality? That is the question. Everything is just a projection. Everything is just perception these days. And why do we love the peacock feather so much? Beautiful, brilliant color. Yeah. Supposing I tell an Orthodox Brahmin in India, hey, that peacock feather that you have kept on Krishna's head, na, is from a dead peacock. I plucked it from a dead peacock. Now he is in a dilemma. Why? Because Krishna is supposed to have an alankara of a peacock. He wants that, he loves that. But typical Orthodox Brahmin, he doesn't want any dead thing in his house. Perceptions, can you see that? Your perception. Yeah, a lot of your people, there was a craze 30-40 years ago. When I was in Rishikesh, people would ask me, Swamiji, can you get a deer skin from Rishikesh? Why? I want to sit down and meditate on the deer skin. As though anything great is going to happen to him because he used a great deer skin. Okay. Nothing great is going to happen because he has used a deer skin. Okay. Yeah. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Nothing great is going to happen to you because you use a deer skin. But there was this craze. And I used to ask all of them, you want to skin an animal and use the skin for meditation? What is this? Now some of your rishis use, no? Our rishis never went and killed something. Deers also die, you know. In the ashram there would be deers. When they die, they skinned it and used it. Not that's going to affect anything great in your meditation, but whatever. So, all these are purely perception based. Like I know another character, for years he used to put this deer skin and meditate, and he think his meditation was very great because of the deer skin. Then the government passed a law, if you have the skin of any wild animal, etc., you must register it. Because in India has banned trade in skins, etc. So he went to register it and found it was fake. It was a fake deer skin, artificially created. Artificially created. It's artificially created, then what happens? All these years he thought he was meditating and he was getting great meditation. It's all not true. Placebo effect. Sheer placebo effect. No. Perception. The whole functioning is based on your perception only. Okay. Clear about all these questions? Shall we go ahead? Can we go ahead then? Hello? Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? There is some problem in the connection, or am I audible? Audible, okay. Why don't you guys speak up? Yeah. Okay, then he goes ahead to say, न प्रकाशादीयं भिन्नः छायैव अर्कस्य तामसी न च अभिन्ना जडत्वेन विरोधानोभयात्मिकः न प्रकाशात् भिन्नः प्रकाशादीयं भिन्नः छाया एव अर्कस्य तामसी. He says, he is talking about light and shadow. Okay. He says, न प्रकाशादीयं भिन्नः छाया तामसीं अर्कस्य चामसीं ताज. Arkasya chaya, the shadow of the moon, of the sun. Okay. It is not separate from the light, because if there is no light, there will be no shadow also, isn't it? If there is no light, there should be no shadow. Nor can you say the shadow is identical to the light, because virodha is different. Look at it, light and shadow. Without the light, there is no shadow. Right now, there is a shadow on my face. But without the light, there will be no shadow. Without the light, there will be no. So can you say the shadow is a light? No. Shadow is not light. Shadow is when something is blocking the light. Can you say it is both? Light and darkness both? Shadow. You can't. You can't say. You can't say it is both light and shadow. Why? Because it's not. That's the nature of it. Yeah. That's the nature. It cannot be both light and shadow. So, similarly, he says, Maya is dependent on the consciousness. It cannot be independent of the consciousness. If it is independent of the consciousness, Maya will become a separate reality and the consciousness will become finite. Therefore, without the consciousness, there is no Maya. And Maya is not consciousness anyway. Are you all getting this? It's important to see this. It is not consciousness. At the same time, without the consciousness, Maya cannot be there. Can you even say that Maya hides the consciousness? Can you see that? Clear question for you all to answer. Does Maya hide the consciousness? Yeah? Does Maya hide the consciousness? Yes or no? Why is this pin drop silence? Are you all hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Hello, are you all hearing me? Okay, there is a little problem here in terms of sometimes it's getting disconnected. I don't know why. Normally it never would happen, but today it's happening. Okay, my question is simple. Does Maya hide the consciousness?
No. No.
No? But you don't know the consciousness of what you are because of Maya. So how can you say Maya doesn't hide? How can you say Maya doesn't hide? I think sometimes students are coming with clean slate every class. Remember there was one verse we did long back. Okay. Ganachanna buddhihi ganachanna markam yatha manyate chati moodaha. Yaad hai ye verse? Do you remember this verse? Hello? Can someone respond? Do you remember this verse? Ganachanna buddhi ganachanna markam yatha manyate cha ati moodaha. If somebody doesn't respond, I think I'll close the class, okay? Okay. Where is that verse from? Can anybody remember? Hastamalikiyam, exactly. So what does it say? Your perception is covered, your buddhi, your perception of the sun is covered, and you are saying the sun is covered. Similarly, Maya cannot cover the consciousness. It only covers my mind. Avidya covers my mind, not the consciousness. Therefore, it cannot say it's independent of the consciousness. You cannot say it's the same as consciousness. Because the nature of Maya is to cover, to hide. It is the nature of darkness, not of the nature of light. Therefore, it is not the consciousness, it is not independent of the consciousness either. It's important to get this. It is not the consciousness, it is not independent of the consciousness either. Therefore, Maya is a dependent reality. It's a dependent reality that hides the consciousness from your perception. Your perception is covered. Your buddhi has avaranam in it, it's covered, not the consciousness. Like exactly how the cloud covers your perception. The cloud only covers your perception of the sun. The cloud, which is a few kilometers, cannot hide the sun, which is millions of kilometers across. But it can hide this, your perception. It can block your perception of the sun. Similarly, Maya is seen in the light of consciousness. When I say aham ajnaha, I don't know, that ignorance of mind is objectified by I consciousness. So I am the one that is objectifying the ignorance. So the ignorance is shining in my consciousness. At the same time, the ignorance is covering my mind. Therefore, I don't know the truth. Therefore, it cannot be independent of the consciousness, nor it can be said it is of the nature of consciousness and the nature of darkness. You cannot say that either. Like if you look at the verse, he says, Virodhat na ubhayatmikaha. You cannot say it's a light of shade and darkness both. You cannot say that because opposite nature. Okay. Now, he is bringing in a very interesting point here. Okay. स्वेहेतुत्वात् अभवयो भावं नेयं सावयो उच्यते न च अवयवहीना सा कार्येषु अवयवान्विता. Okay, now look at this here. He says, since Maya is not caused by anything. Maya is the cause of all the manifestations. Itself is not caused. Therefore, itself is not caused. You can't say it is made up of parts. Because something which is uncreated does not have parts. If you create it means what you put together a few things. Creation is always putting together a few things. Therefore, anything created will have parts. Since Maya is not created, no parts. But you cannot say it is devoid of parts. You cannot say it doesn't have parts. Nacha avayava heenasa. Why? Kareshu avayavanvitaha. If you look at the world, the effect of Maya, you will find knowledge, nobleness, etc., which is sattva. You find desire, passion, activity, etc., which is rajas. And so you will find it is made up of, there is sattva, knowledge in the creation. There is Rajas, which is activity, desire, etc. And there is also Tamas. There is also Tamas. Look at it. To summarize, okay, the whole thing, the 15th verse again. Maya itself is not created. Because Maya itself is not created, it doesn't have parts. Only a created entity will have parts. Because the moment you say creation, it implies putting together something. Therefore, Maya being uncreated doesn't have parts. At the same time, if you are looking at the effects of Maya, it has got Sattva, Rajas, Tamas in it, the whole world. There is knowledge, Sattva, there is activity, desire, etc., Rajas, and there is inert matter, Tamas, and inertia in people, and matter, both. Therefore, if you are looking at the effect of Maya, there is Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. That means the cause also must have Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. But itself is an uncreated entity, therefore it should not have parts. What is the verse trying to say? It is trying to say the very paradoxical nature of Maya. Because it cannot be logically, categorically explained. We cannot make a chart. This is Brahman, this is Maya. Though I have seen some people doing it, not the right thing to do. This is the nature of Brahman, this is the nature of Maya. You cannot categorize it like that. Because by its very nature, Maya is illogical. The creation is illogical. Quantum physics is only confirming that the creation is illogical. What's an electron, a particle or a wave? So because there's a big debate going on and some scientist came with a solution. When you observe it, it's a particle, otherwise it's a wave. So I was tempted to ask the scientist, what do you mean? When you observe it, the electron gets self-conscious and freezes up into a particle. And when you don't observe it, it is free and flows like a wave. What is it? Is there an energy which sometimes behaves like a particle? Is a particle which has energy in it? What is it? Sometimes this, sometimes that. It is sometimes this, sometimes that. There is no vyavastha. There is no definiteness. Mayikam. Mayikam. Nithyatma. But it's functionally valid. We can use it for this. Of course, who doesn't deny functional validity? In fact, we are saying that which is functional is Mayikam. Yeah, anything that's functional is because of Maya. Who is saying no to that? So we fully accept the functional validity. What we are dismissing is the absolute reality for it. Functional validity is accepted. And what's the problem? Thank God. Because of Maya, I can function. Because of Maya, I, the all-pervading consciousness, can go for a walk and come back. After the lockdown. Okay. Yeah. So where is the big issue about it? In all disciplines of knowledge, we are dealing with functional realities. All disciplines of knowledge. Because we are dealing with functional realities in other disciplines of knowledge, we rarely raise the question of the absolute reality. Though they all started by saying we want to discover the reality behind the creation. They started with that. But there is no other approach except dealing with any given thing in the creation, and that's the starting point. Therefore, you get lost in that Maya world, the functional world. And all that you're discovering is the laws of functionality, under where it is applicable, where it is not applicable. All beautiful, all valid. Hats off to them who has done so much of work on that. But that's not the reality. That is not the absolute reality we are talking about. Vedanta is dealing with absolute reality, not with the functional. It's concerned with the functional enough to answer your questions about it. It's concerned about the functional enough so that you can grow in the functional world. That's all. That's it. Not more than that. Because the functional world is meant for you to grow so that you can claw the bluff of the world. And you understand the reality behind the world. Therefore, the whole question is that way. Different disciplines meant for different things. Is meant for different things. One is meant for, the vast majority of it is meant for functioning, and Vedanta is the only thing that is dealing with what you really are. Why? Because with all this knowledge that we have of the functioning world, the human problem continues to be the same. Whether we are living in the Stone Age or in the Information Age, as they like to call ourselves, the human problem is the same. Sense of finitude, isolation, loneliness, purposelessness. Those things are the same. Doesn't change. Therefore, Vedanta is meant to answer that human problem. And in the process of answering that human problem, if you have to understand yourself as an infinite consciousness, you have to see that the world is Mayika, not real. It does not have the same degree of reality. Because if it has the same degree of reality, you are a finite entity, permanent. By self-knowledge, you will only be confirming your finite nature. You are not gaining anything new, nor are you solving the issue. You are not gaining anything new, nor are you solving the issue. Now, what's the point? You are only managing your functioning well. You're managing your functioning, yeah. You're so busy managing your functioning, you're not seeing the reality of what it is. You're not seeing where you're headed. You're too busy managing. Yeah. You're so busy managing things. Though you started your inquiry into understanding what is reality, but got caught up in the details. That's the very nature of Maya. Even you have to be careful, even in the study of Vedanta, you are studying the whole thing to understand the truth. Don't get lost in the scholarship. It's good to have scholarship in any field. The thing is, we are not teaching a book. We are not unfolding, we are unfolding what you are. We are unfolding what you are. Yeah. We are not unfolding anything else. We are unfolding what you are. And that is the important thing. I hope you get that point of it here. There is some problem with the connection, so I'm just giving it a couple of minutes to catch up and to reconnect. Okay. This being the case, okay, why are we explaining so much about Maya? We are explaining so much about Maya because one needs to understand what is the nature of the problem. What is causing the all-pervading awareness, the consciousness that I am, to appear as a finite entity? The whole attempt is only this much, that how the reality appears as the world, how the reality appears as a finite being who is looking at the world, how the reality is feeling, the all-pervading consciousness is feeling so limited, because that is my state. There is a doha of Kabir that says that हाय इंसान के बद भक्ति है अंदाज के बाहर, खुद खुदा होकर बंदा नजर आते हैं. The lot of the people, okay, the bad lot of the people is beyond all understanding, he says. Why? खुद खुदा होकर, being nothing but the Lord of the universe, the consciousness itself, it appears as a bound, limited entity. He's saying, oh Lord, free me from the samsara. And really speaking, the Lord should be looking at you and saying, what samsara are you talking about? What is the samsara that you are talking about? There is no samsara here. There is no samsara. Absolutely no samsara. Yeah. There is only an appearance. Yeah. And that appearance is being mistaken. Just because of an appearance. So, your whole problem of samsara is an illegitimate problem, not a real problem. The whole problem is not one. The whole problem is not real. The whole problem is based. The whole problem is based. Yeah, I know there is a problem of connecting. Yes. Hello. Yeah.
Swamiji, we can't hear you at all.
I know the connection is just gone off and is not coming back again. But I am going to record a few things and put it up. You all can hear the recording. Okay?
Okay, so shall I?
1 second, I am trying to reconnect. Okay. Can you all hear me now? Because I have reconnected now. Yeah. So the whole problem that is there is purely based on something that is not true. So the whole discussion of Maya is only to make you understand that the problem is an illegitimate one. There is no real problem. So therefore, some description of Maya, etc. is given just to understand what makes the all-pervading consciousness appear as a finite entity, appear as a world, both. and how the whole game starts. Okay. Good place to stop. Om Tat Sat. Hello, can you all hear me now?